outside of the Zoom box.
Sherry, you ready?
Yes, I am, thank you.
With bells on.
No light. And I won't tell you where.
We're not live yet.
Right
so-
here, right here in my
Yeah.
ear.
We're not live yet, anything goes.
Thank you, Sherry.
Just checking to see if you're on your phone.
We're not live. Test it.
That's really loud, that's all I can hear.
I'm going to call the, what is today? The December 9th meeting, committee meeting of the
Okay,
whole
I'm on.
Finance, Taxation, and Salaries to order at 6:05 PM. As a reminder, we have the remainder
Yeah,
of
it's really loud.
I have it on
Yes.
mute.
Well, they can't hear you, but they're super loud.
Hey Sherry, or just a reminder, anybody on the phone, if you could mute your phone, because we're getting a little bit of feedback here. But as a reminder, we will have the remainder of the administrative committee meeting immediately following this finance meeting. And we
So
had
if you could bring back your agenda, log back into the computer.
I got it. I got that back, but I lost the video.
The video feed, you can go back and forth from the video feed on the
Ladies and
bottom.
gentlemen, we have some feedback here, so if you're on the phone or on a Zoom meeting, we
You
are
have to
catching some
minimize the
feedback.
window or just,
I think we're good now. I hope. Where was I?
And you cut my bell comment. Come on, that was nothing, Carl.
All right, anyway, regarding the last meeting, where we had technical difficulties, we think we have them solved, we hope. And we'll be able to move forward. As in response to that, I want to point everybody's attention to the top of your agendas. You'll notice that there's a comment section there. We've changed the way we're going to do public comment. If there's public comment, we welcome individuals to come to this room before our meetings or during our meetings to offer public comment during the public comment period in person. However, we are no longer going to allow people just to jump on the phone or on the Zoom meeting and offer public comment that way. If somebody does not want to attend in person, they will be able to write their public comment and send that to the administrative office by 4 PM the day of that particular meeting. And it will be read into record by the chair during the public comment portion. Apologize for this inconvenience to individuals who are interested in sharing their comments with this body, but due to individuals who cannot act like adults, we were forced to make this stop. And, hopefully at some point in the future, we won't have to worry about Zoom meetings or Facebook or anything like that, and we can just have normal meetings and people will be welcome to attend. And again, if they want to show up in person, they're welcome to issue their comments in person to this body. So a little bit of a change, so that people, anybody watching or listening knows that, and also to inform the board that we made that decision to make that change. Gives us some control. So from there, let's do roll call. Again, this is for Finance and Taxation's Committee of the Whole meeting. Carl Johnson here. Sherry Gieske.
Here.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Here.
Dave Wiltsey.
Present.
Ray Larson.
Here.
Steve Shabaka.
Here.
Jeff Carlisle.
Here.
Ryan Curry.
Here.
Bill Robertson.
Here.
Sherry Bartella.
Here,
Rodney Riley. Here, sir. We are all in attendance. Next up, I would accept the motion to approve the minutes from the December 2nd Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Sorry, Mr. Robertson, and seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion?
This is December 2nd.
December 2nd, meeting minutes for administrator.
I know I'm entitled to vote on that, but I'm going to abstain on any that I wasn't participating in.
Sure. Okay. Is that right, December 2nd?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think
No.
we can skip over that because we changed the meeting date for that.
Oh, because that's.
Yeah, so let's,
Yeah.
and then we don't have those.
So we don't have any other, we don't have those
Yeah.
minutes yet.
Minutes.
Yeah, it's like this, that's odd.
All right.
So, okay. So, Mr. Robertson, I'm assuming you'd like to withdraw your
Yes.
motion. Mr. Carlisle, likewise, yes.
Yes.
That was an easy vote. Next, I accept the motion to approve the agenda. Motion
Second.
by Mr. Carlisle, second by Ms. Geeske. Any discussion? Anything we need to add to the agenda at all?
No.
All right. Roll call, Carl Johnson, yes. Sheriff Geeske.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Schumacher. Here. Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Martell.
Yes,
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries. Public comment, is there anyone in the boardroom here that would like to issue public comment? Seeing none. We received no letters for public comment today, so right on. Treasurer, I'm sorry, Ms. Geeske, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Kurt, let's start out with item 6.1, the treasurer's monthly report. Go ahead, Kurt.
Well, good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. Because as you all know, our fiscal year 2021 began on December 1st. And so the reports I give you tonight, the treasurer's report dated November 30th is basically year-end numbers. I will also point out, and I'll go through these in a little bit more detail than I normally do for the benefit of our new county board members. These reports that I present are always, as the health department would say, provisional. They're prepared quite quickly, a few days after the end of a given month. We don't necessarily have all the checking accounts and all the bank accounts reconciled. So, minor adjustments can happen down the road, but for all intents and purposes, these numbers are good. So let's just dive in here. So the front page of the report is a summary. You'll see that our general fund balance held pretty steady with only a small drop of a little less than $32,000. November is the month where I make the final property tax distribution for the year. And it was a much smaller distribution than the previous distributions, but that little bit of income helped us out in November. Not only for the general fund, but all of the funds for which we levy taxes, which include health fund, highway, bridge, FICA, IMRF, one or two others that I'm not thinking about. So that's the main reason why the general fund more or less held steady for November. You can see that in balances of all funds, we're down $423,000. Biggest part of that is these construction projects that we've been working on, road and bridge construction projects throughout the summer. We're finalizing paying the bills on some of those. And so we had some major expenses in the highway department in November. The investment pool. And basically, this pool is just a combination of not all of our funds, many of them that have funds, cash to invest. It gets pulled together and managed as a unit. The investment pool assets are down $814,000, and all of that came from the liquid accounts, meaning those accounts that we have ready access to, the money market accounts, the various public funds pools that I invest in. In other words, that money didn't come from CDs or other long-term investments. So when we spend money, assets get taken out of the pool and placed in a regular checking account to pay the bills. So that's why the investment pool assets are down. Weighted average rate continues to drop. and will continue to drop. Just, for your enlightenment, I guess, I'll point out a couple things. I was looking at some rates today on some of these public funds investment pools that are available. The Illinois Funds, which is a pool that's operated by the State Treasurer's Office. That fund is now paying 0.093%. PFM, which is a private fund, Public Funds Management, their Illinois Institutional Investors Trust Fund. And we have money in that fund. It's now yielding 0.08%. The Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund is not a fund that we can invest in, but it's a similar fund for public entities, schools in particular. That fund is now paying 0.05%. So that's just a taste of things to come. The weighted average rate that you see there is what it is because of the CDs that were bought a year or a year and a half ago. As those CDs mature, whether we spend it or reinvest it, that weighted average rate is going to gradually continue to come down. Good news is I did talk to a bank today that's looks like they're going to be offering me 0.3 to 0.35 somewhere in there on a CD that's going to mature next week. So, not all the rates are this bad, but it's a pretty dismal time out there when you have public funds that you're trying to invest. Okay. So moving on to the next page, the cash investment balances. So this lists all of the county funds. They're all numbered. You see there's more than 40 of them. And the total cash assets of that fund as of the end of a given month, and in this case, November 30th. So this basically is all the money we have in county government. And you can see that there are some negative balances there, minor negative balances. Animal Services has been running in the red. The law library has been in the red for quite a long time. Sometimes there's a grant fund that's a reimbursement type fund where we spend the money first and then get reimbursed. Those grant funds will typically run negative. And Fund 123, the Federal Opioid Grant Fund, is one of those funds. So it typically runs negative, as well as 144, the Urban Transportation Fund. Anyway, you see that the grand total there is $25,794.50 and change. Now, that's all the funds in county government on our general ledger. If you turn to the next page, it says bank account balances, all funds, and you see the grand total there. It's $25,794.50 and change. It's the same money. The first page tells you who the funds belong to. The second page tells you where that money is invested, okay? It gives you the bank accounts, including some of these funds, accounts that are held by department heads. The circuit clerk is holding on to a pretty good amount of money. The circuit clerk handles a lot of money and is required to hang on to things like bond that's been posted, things like that. So you see the same money in a couple different ways. Where is it and who does it belong to? Okay, now on that bank account balances report, about the fourth line from the bottom, you see IP001 investment pool. Okay, that's the pool that I mentioned earlier. 22,125,76 and change. You go to the investment pool balance sheet and you look at the total liabilities of the pool, 22,125,76 and change. So the investment pool balance sheet is giving you a breakdown of that number, that 22 million number. Now the investment pool balance sheet, again, you have the assets, which is the various bank accounts, CDs, other investments of the pool. And then you have the liabilities, which is what funds that money belongs to. Typically, when I give these reports, since I'm not done reconciling all the bank accounts, there's going to be some equity there. In this case, 34,990.44 equity in the investment pool. That's just interest revenue that hasn't yet been divvied up to all the funds. So before we close the books on 2020, I will make a journal entry to prorate that interest to divvy it up to all the funds so that on a year-end basis, this investment pool will have a zero net worth. It will have assets that equal its liabilities. So that's basically my monthly report. There's also a cash flow report here. Did I print it?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
I provided it, but I didn't print it, so I don't have a copy with me. But the cash flow report, that was one that Dr. O'Malley had requested a few years ago, just to kind of give you a handle on the individual funds and which funds had cash in, which funds had cash out, where we were spending, where we were earning and transferring and that sort of thing. So that's just kind of a supplemental additional piece of information there, the cash flow report. Guess that's all I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
questions for Kurt in the boardroom? Jeff?
Yeah, hi Kurt. So all the funds that we have, is there any other plan to look at different types of financing investments than what we currently have? Is there any kind of like a plan that you're developing for the next few years?
I don't have any plans to make any major changes in how I invest our funds. Other than that, I'll answer the phone when somebody calls with a product that they're selling, if it's legitimate, if it's somebody that I think understands the Illinois Public Funds Investment Act and knows what they're doing, I'll listen. And I'm open to ideas from those who are familiar with investing public funds in Illinois. I think I'm comfortable with the current way that I'm doing things. We have a mixture here of local banks, local investment pools, public and private, liquid money in CDs. When you go back to my investment policy, which is based on the Public Funds Investment Act, safety, liquidity, yield, you have to strike the correct balance with all those things with the right priorities. And so, it's pretty dismal right now, the interest rates. There are other options, and I've talked about this before, more complicated kinds of investments. You can buy municipal bonds if they're rated high enough. You can buy commercial paper if it's rated high enough. And a whole bunch of, there's a pretty big menu there that I could invest in, okay? So these public funds pools that I mentioned at the beginning, Illinois Funds, PFM, the Illinois Liquid Asset, the School Liquid Asset Fund, they all take advantage of that, and they all, look for whatever opportunities there are in all those different instruments. And those are the yields they're getting. So, when the people who get paid a lot of money to invest public funds aren't doing as well as we are here in Boone County, I don't see a big reason to change the way we're doing things. So our local banks typically take very good care of us. There's always opportunities out there. And so I think we're doing well the way we are.
Dave?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying because we're limited to what we could get into. And right now, the market's what it is. I was the treasurer of the Wheeling Township Rural Fire Protection District back in the early 80s, and we were getting 21% interest, but mortgages were at 22. It's just amazing. But this is the times that we're in, and we're limited to what it is. The question I have is on the law library, the 28,000. What do we do on the law library?
That's one that, so the law library, I believe, and I'm not the expert, it's something that we have to have pursuant to statute to make legal resources available to people. I'm not entirely familiar with the revenue and expenses on that fund. It's a small fund. I can get you in touch with the people who know more than I do. That'd be the circuit clerk possibly, or someone with court services with the circuit, which is be Winnebago
I'm
County.
just wondering if a lot of that's online, because nobody's doing books anymore.
It's Tricia. I could answer some questions on that.
Go ahead, Tricia. Go ahead.
I didn't hear the last question of Mr. Wilsey.
Just as the 28,000 law library, what's that allocated to, how's it spent?
And his other point, Tricia, was that everything is done online now, so it can't be for books. It must be a service. That's my addition.
So it's funded through a part of the assessment on various court cases here in Boone County when someone pleads guilty to it or when they file a case. And then the money is, and that's by statute, the amount that's set or by ordinance. And then we do offer Westlaw subscription, which is an online subscription so that individuals can use that law library and find statutes, case law, et cetera. And it is quite expensive monthly. It is part of the charges. We negotiate Westlaw, and it's used in my office, the public defender's office, the courts, but it's part of that package.
Our,
Follow-up, Dave, go ahead.
yeah, thank you. Are law firms or private citizens able to access that Westlaw database for a fee or a charge?
It is available to the public, and anyone who comes into the courthouse may use that facility. We do not charge any individual for that. It is a service that we must provide.
Very interesting. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad to
Sure,
know.
and there's actually I believe still a public computer at the Ida Public Library that's also part of that program. But I think Ida Public Library is currently closed just because of COVID. But I think there is another computer in the public that can be used.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members in the boardroom for Kurt? Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I hate to show my, I don't use it in ignorance, but now, the general fund, is this, when over the years, you hear general fund, is this in the general fund a part of it, or can you explain when you hear the word general fund, if you don't mind, what does that encompass, because I really don't know.
Okay, so if you look at the cash and investment balances report, it starts with the general fund and has listed all the rest of them. The general fund is one of those that we levy taxes for. It is the main fund for operating county government. So when you look through the budget, we have all the different departments that have a general fund budget. The general fund pays for the operations of county government, with the exception of the highway department, for example, the health department, and maybe there might be a few other exceptions, animal services, for example. Most other county departments, including the sheriff's office, are funded primarily by the general fund. Most of our revenue, besides the property taxes, the revenue that comes from the state, our piece of the state income tax and sales tax and reimbursements from the state go into that general fund. You might sometimes hear it referred to as the corporate fund. And the thing about the general fund is you can spend that money on any lawful purpose, okay? You can take general fund money and spend it for roads. You can take highway fund money and spend it for the assessment office, okay? So the general fund is much more open in what you can do with the money.
Thank you.
Carl, go ahead.
Thanks, Sherry. Just for all the new board members, just so you know, we are planning, Ski and I have talked, we're planning to
I'm
have,
just texting you about it. Go ahead. You beat me to the
to
punch.
have kind of a, what do I want to call it, a new board member finance workshop. Because the budget and getting into the budget of the county can be confusing. What's the general fund? What's this fund?
Yeah.
Can we do this? Can we do that? What can we? There's a ton of rules, and for us to spend this time to go through it all would take 2 hours. So we talked about it the other night, probably right after the first of the year, we're gonna plan on doing that. Just let you guys get your feet wet with a little bit here, and then we'll do things after the new year, and let people enjoy Christmas a little bit, eat a lot of cookies and all that fun stuff. So,
Great minds.
there we go.
Other questions in the boardroom? Questions from any board member on the line? If you would indulge me for 1 second to follow up with what Carl's comments are. I think what we'll be doing is working with our administrative staff to set that up. I have some thoughts and ideas also, because I think it's, since we are vested with utilizing our citizens' money, I think it's important for us to know where it comes from, where it's housed, who's spending it, and all that kind of stuff. So I will hope that you will assist us in that also.
Be happy to.
Okay, terrific.
So my parting words are, you know,
Uh-oh.
for new members or veterans alike, my door is always open. I answer the phone anytime you have a question about county finances. Call me. You know, you can come in and sit down and we can talk about stuff. I'll be happy to, spend whatever time is necessary to explain and bring everybody up to speed. So,
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you.
meeting.
Thank you very much, Carl. Let's move on to item 6.2, which is the administration monthly financial report. And Dan is handing out paper. Whoa. I guess.
Thank you.
What color? Thanks, Dan.
All right, good evening, board members. So tonight, as Kurt mentioned, I'm going to give the year-end monthly financial report. I did want to note that even though this data represents revenues and expenditures in the general fund through November 30th, it is unaudited, and so we call it year-end, but really it could change with some accruals and different adjustments that are made throughout the audit process. So I'm just going to start on the first page here. There's the cover page is our memo, our summary memo. On page 1 is where we talk about the general fund revenues. And so really, I think the high point on revenue, so you can see there on page 1, I included an over-under budget. And so for revenues, we really want to be over budget. It would be nice to end the year with revenues exceeding what we planned on. Unfortunately for FY 2020, which was not unexpected, we came in under budget on revenue. So the 2020 budget as adopted by the board was just over 18 million. The FY 2020 unaudited revenues in the general fund ended up being just under 17.8 million. So that essentially we ended the year under budget on revenues, just over $225,000. Overall, the revenues were flat compared to FY19. Kurt mentioned that final property tax distribution was made in November. Sales taxes, no surprise there. They ended the year down 3%. However, they ended in the negative, but to be honest, they really did outperform where we thought they could be. If you remember back in May or June of this year, we were up here talking about potentially -10, -30% hit on sales tax. So really, even though sales tax ended up low, it was one of the bright spots, I think, for FY 2020 as far as general fund revenues. Again, the other taxes, so this is the income tax, this is the personal property replacement tax. They ended up 4%, and it was really, that really carried where we lost ground in sales tax and fines and fees. We really made up ground in the other taxes. And that was really thanks to the state income tax, which did well, and then also the local use tax, which also did well in FY 2020. And then I added, for the first time this month at the bottom there, the county received through the state of Illinois' local cure program, which is essentially CARES funding from the federal government. The county received an allocation of $788,634. As of today, we've submitted for reimbursement for just about 100% of that. There's a couple $1,000s left. We have started to receive payments from the state. We received the first check in the amount of $2,842. So we'll continue to update the board on that until we receive that funding back from the state of Illinois. I'm not really going to touch on pages 2 and 3. This is just, especially for the new board members, these are the major revenue sources in the general fund. These 6 revenue sources account for 35% of those general fund revenues. So again, the data is there through the end of the year. I'm not going to touch on it. And then just finally on the expenditure side of the general fund, page 4, Mr. Strabacher, you had mentioned or asked about what was included in the general fund. That list of the departments on page 4 really shows that's the entire breadth of the general fund. It is the county's largest fund at more than $18 million. The spending for 2020 was pretty much flat over FY19. Again, so I threw on the over under budget. So for revenues, we wanted to be over budget. For expenditures, we would like to be under budget, which we were. We were under budget in expenditures by more than $450,000, so that's really good news. I did just want to caveat one thing regard to that under budget on expenditures. 4 of our largest collective bargaining units remain, I don't want to say unsettled, but the contracts haven't been approved by the county board. The formal adoption hasn't occurred yet of those new union contracts. And so what that means is we had budgeted for that retroactive pay back to last December. It was supposed to be paid out in FY19 because those still haven't been signed on the dotted line and approved and gone through that process. That retroactive pay that should have happened in 2020 will now be pushed into FY 2021. So by my estimation, it's probably about 130,000. So of that 450, a little bit more than 450 that we came in under budget on expenditures, really some of that it will be spent this next year in FY 2021. So that's all I have for tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Dan from board members in the boardroom? Dave?
I don't want to, I'll raise this issue, but I'd like to be brief later privately about where our contracts are now, what the levels are and so forth. I recognize that if they're not finalized, recognize as confidential personnel matters. So off record, I'd just like to have some background on that.
Okay.
Carl?
Just touching on Dave there with the contract negotiations. We are planning to have an executive session after the board meeting next week to update the entire board.
Excellent.
It's just too much trying to figure out how we do that.
Yeah.
With all this right now, so if you can wait till then, great.
Oh, absolutely.
Or staff can let you know anytime too.
No, that's fine.
Without a problem.
We
And then also-
just finished some negotiations and can't wait, so I get it.
Sure. And then just one comment, I would really like to send a huge county board thank you out to all our department heads and to our elected officials for a fantastic job stepping up to the plate, cutting expenses, and not spending anything that wasn't 100% needed. I think they did a fantastic job. I've seen this kind of effort before from our elected officials and department heads back when we had the Great Recession, and they stepped up again. I just can't say enough good things about them. To come in, $467,000 under budgeted expenses is phenomenal, and it's a testament to them, their concern for the community and their efforts, and because of that, that 130,000 is going to be paid for we'll have the reserves there to pay for that contracts that need to be settled. So I just think that's phenomenal, and hopefully we get a whole bunch of money from the feds and the state to help give us an extra boost for next year, because I think we're gonna need it.
Other questions or comments? Or Kurt, I'm sorry, too many.
Yeah, I just, sometimes when a number gets a lot of digits in it, it's hard to get the right perspective on it. So I would just point out that on the revenue side, that we came in, I lost my page, 200 and.
Number 2. It's the second page.
We came in $228,000 under budget on revenue. That's 1.27% of our general fund budget. I mean, any year that you can get within a couple percent. Remember, I mean, a budget is a plan based on predictions. That's really all it is. And when you can get that close in any year, you're doing well. The fact that we got that close this year is pretty phenomenal. On the expense side, we're $467,000 under budget. That's 2.6% under budget on the expense side. Again, Carl's right. When you can cut expenses like that in the middle of the year, when we realized that this was upon us, that it says a lot of good about our elected officials and our department heads and everybody working together.
Any other comments in the boardroom? Anyone that is calling in? Any board member calling in have any comments or questions? I have one question. How will the CURES money, will it be reallocated back to the fund or the department? In other words, when it comes back, when we get the money?
So
how is it gonna be? Is it gonna go back to, has each department kept track of how much they spent in that sort of stuff? So
yeah, so it's a reimbursement, and really
Right.
it's a reimbursement on the fund level. And so like in the general fund, for example, there are revenue accounts and there are expenditure accounts.
Right.
So we created in the general fund, I believe,
Oh,
all of the money that we've submitted for reimbursement is in the general fund
okay.
so far to the state. But we created a specific account within the general fund that we can then track the money coming back. So the answer is it'll come back to the general fund, to the fund that spent the
And
money.
then get it back. All right, funnel it through the general fund. Okay, that's what I thought. And if you'll indulge me, I have one comment, or kind of a convoluted comment. I think it's fascinating. We all know the state of Illinois. You really can't read the Wall Street Journal more than a week or two without seeing Illinois being mentioned, and it's always, or typically infamously. But Kurt gave us those investment returns, but the stock market passed 30,000 a couple weeks ago. And if you look at your investments, they're going just wild. So I think these are scary times, real scary times, because, you've got this much here on, we're getting an interest, and over here, the market's going crazy. So I guess my final statement is, who the heck knows what's going to happen? So I guess we just hang on for, to what we've got and keep going. Anything else for Dan? Thank you very much, Dan. Let's move on to item 7.1, a motion to approve a supervisor of assessments purchasing card.
Make the motion.
Motion made by Ryan to approve. Second, looking for a second. Second by Jeff Carlisle. Any discussion? Any questions?
Is there a limitation on the card amount?
I'll turn this over to Kevin.
So yes, there are limitations, and part of the application to actually possess a purchasing card, it goes through, a series of individuals. In this particular case, all of them actually be part of my sign off and Kurt's sign off, and this committee of the whole sign off as well. But one thing that we did here in particular for supervisor of assessments, the chief deputy will be assigned a purchasing card this time too, so that's what the next motion will be for. And in this case, we actually reduced the limits. Then typically a department head usually gets around a spending limit of about 5,000 typically in a department her size, but since she is a chief deputy, she wanted to split that limit so that in case the supervisor of assessments is out of the office, then someone in her office has a card in case something happens. And in this case, that actually is happening because the supervisor of assessments had to quarantine. So now someone will be able to, be able to purchase something in an emergency situation without her having to be there. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
Any other questions from the boardroom? Questions or comments from call-in board members? You want to do the roll call, Carl, or you want me to?
I would gladly do it.
Thank you.
I have it all written out. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Easton.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Meyer.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Yes.
Ray Larson. Ray Larson. Ray, I think you're on mute.
Aye.
Steve Shabaka.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel.
Yes,
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Carl. Item 7.2 is a motion to approve Chief Deputy Supervisor of Assessments Office, that's Debbie Wells, purchasing card approval. I'm looking for a motion, someone to make the motion. Motion made by Jeff Carlisle.
Second.
Second by Ryan Curry. Any further discussion or questions? By the way, I think this is an excellent idea. You know, you've not increased the total of their, of the amount they can get, but you've got it split up. I think it's an excellent idea. Just a comment. No other questions or comments? Okay, Carl?
Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Easton.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Meyer.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Shabaka. Yes. Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel.
yes,
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Carl. Item 7.3 is a resolution 2102 for services from the Appellate Prosecutor's Office. Looking for a motion to approve that, please. Jeff Carlisle makes the motion. A second.
Second.
Second from Bill Robertson. Tricia, I think you're on the line, right?
Yes, I am.
Are there any, does anyone have any questions about this? I think I can give it a shot, but Tricia's on the line. She knows a lot more about it.
If you had, there's a cover sheet with this, and basically this is an annual resolution that we need to pay for the services for the appellate prosecutor's office. In a nutshell, what they do is they handle all the appeals from my office as well as any conflict cases. So it is well worth the investment in this. The price is set by the appellate prosecutor's office. They represent all the state's attorneys in Illinois except for 2 counties, Cook County and I think DuPage. And so they split up the price based on, I believe, population of county. So this is what they've determined our portion would be. And also it did not go up after last year. So I don't know if anyone has any specific questions at all.
Any other specific questions? Okay, Carl, let's go ahead for the roll.
Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Easton.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Meyer.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Shabaka. Yes. Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel.
yes,
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Item 7.4 is a resolution to establish Boone County the Boone County's engineer's salary. And that would be in the amount of $111,910, which is 95% of what the state has stated that it should be. You will find in your on your agenda, you have the memo and the resolution also. Any questions from anyone in the boardroom? Kevin, did I miss anything?
You need a motion.
Oh, didn't I do a motion?
No, I'm right by it.
Golly.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Motion made by Jeff to approve and seconded by Bill. Now, any questions? Carl?
Just so for new board members, just so you understand, the reason we want to do this is so that we can use that 50% MFT funds, or not MFT, federal highway funds.
Right.
Otherwise, that whole salary comes out of MFT funds. Federal highway dollars are much harder to use. They have to be for specific projects, things like that. So what this in effect does is helps our county engineer a little bit, but more importantly, gives us the benefit of leveraging those MFT funds a little more usefully here locally, so.
Is your hand up for a question, Bill, or?
Oh, I just wanted to say that Justin has done a fantastic job this year. He has been on top of everything, and if you call out there and ask him a question, he gets you an answer. If he doesn't have it, he deserves this.
Anything else? Anyone that's calling in? Okay, I guess we're ready for a roll call, Carl.
Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Geeske.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Shabbat.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel.
Yes,
Robbie Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Carl. 7.5 is a resolution 21-04 BLR 14220 for Bureau of Local Roads and Streets Form 14220 approval. This is something we do every year. And Kevin has put a board memo giving an explanation, and then we have a resolution that has to be a certain format. Questions for Kevin or anyone else from the boardroom? Anything you want to add, Kevin?
Not necessarily, again, this is an annual report we have prepared. Justin does a great job preparing this, and it's just required as part of Illinois Department of Transportation's policy to be able to use the MFT funds to conduct planned expenses that are kind of listed here, such as your shoulder stone, signs, patches, mowing, things of that nature. So it's something that IDOT requires. And what happens is that once the county board approves it next week, even to perform some of these things, he has to still obtain more approval. So it's just a bureaucratic nightmare, but this is part of the process, so there we go.
And there's $2.8 million in change at stake here, so we'll cross those T's and dot those I's, I suspect. Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
Anything else? I guess we're ready for roll call, Carl.
Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Geeske.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Shabbat.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel.
yes,
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Carl. Item 7.9 is a grant opportunity for COVID. Do we have anything on that?
We have no updates on that. I guess, just to reiterate, and Dan Street went over this, is that we've submitted about $785,000 for our allotment that the CURES grant allowed us to submit reimbursement for. So we submitted that, and we're hoping to hear back within the next 3 weeks on as far as how that goes. And then we also applied for additional funding beyond that. What the state has done is required every local jurisdiction to fill out a survey indicating if they would or would not use those funds. And those that did not fill it out basically forfeited their funds. So we could potentially see more money coming our way. And as you know, too, the federal government has approved another stimulus package, which has more money in their local governments as well. So we'll keep an eye out on that. UCCI is informed. Actually, literally just sent an email about 10 minutes ago to me. So I've been reviewing that, and we'll try to garner any funding that we can. So in anticipation of some revenue shortfalls. So thank you.
Hard to believe that everybody would apply for everything they possibly can, but we'll take whatever scraps we can get, right? Thank you very much, Kevin. Do we have any informational items or anything, other business?
No, not this evening.
Okay, we have no need for an executive session tonight. It'll be next week, correct?
Yep, next week.
Okay, then I think I'm only looking for one more motion. Is that correct? Motion made by Ryan Curry to adjourn, seconded by Jeff Carlisle. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Perfect. We just want to take a I would like to call to order the recessed Administrative Committee of the Whole meeting from December 7th at 6:54 PM. When last we met, feel like an old-time TV show, when last we saw it. We were in the middle of the county clerk and recorder's update on elections and things like that. Ms. Bliss, I have to think about that. Are you on the line? I don't think so. So we will catch her at the board meeting or at another time. How about the coroner?
Yes, I am here.
Hi, Becky. Do you want to just give us a brief update?
Sure. First, I want to say welcome to the new board members. I hope you had a chance to review my report, and I will go over it in a little more detail this time. We had a total for November 2020, a total of 28 calls for service. 26 of those were deaths. We had 12 males, 14 females. So we finished our year with our total call number being 355 for 2020 fiscal year, which is actually 55 over what we did last year. And then on the monies collected page, we collected a total of $1,050 for November. So our total collection for the year is $11,650. So if anybody's got any questions, I can answer any questions.
Questions from the boardroom for the coroner? Ms. Kieske.
Becky, I don't know if this is a comment or a question, or if I've been asleep at the switch, but I think this is the first month that I have seen any COVID-related deaths indicated on this report. No?
We have had some in previous months, but I think the last time we had any was May of this year. So we went all summer with none, and then we did have some in November. And also, I believe some of these pending, we had a large number of pending there, 10 cases that are in the pending status. Some of those are probably going to come back as COVID related also.
I suspected that. Thank you, Becky.
Yeah.
Further questions for the coroner in the boardroom? Any questions for the coroner on the line for board members? Hearing none. Becky, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. And I also wanted to say too, of course, my office is open. If anybody was interested in coming in to learn more about the inner workings of the coroner's office, you are more than welcome. I'd love to show you around.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you and have a good evening.
Next up, Health Department. Ms. Mail, are you on the line? Amanda, are you there? I do not hear her. Animal Services. Come on down, you're the next contestant. Oh, wait.
Good evening. Brought my entire staff with me today.
Again?
They came the other day too. They really wanted to hear me talk, and they were disappointed that they didn't get to, so they came back today for round 2. So, as you guys are aware, we have a full staff at Animal Services now. I have our officer Lisa and our office manager Kelly. Both of them have been on the job for weeks and are performing all of their duties. You know, as expected, our officer Lisa completed her training program and 1 week practical training exercise 3 weeks ago. She's been out on her own doing calls since then. So I get to spend my days catching up on all the stuff that I wasn't able to do while I was training her and before we found her. And Kelly's currently working on trying to catch up on the backlog of rabies registrations and things like that, stuff that wasn't getting done when there was nobody in the building. And we found out when she started into that stuff that they were actually several months behind when the previous staff left. So got quite a continuous stream of people coming in looking for animals. If you guys have looked at our the number of animal intakes and the adoptions and things like that, we've got a pretty, you know, we're headed uphill, headed in a good direction. The length of stay on animals is pretty short. We're able to find homes for most of the animals pretty quickly, particularly dogs. We have had a couple of cats that were there for longer than desired, but dogs were able to move out almost within a day or two in most cases. Donations, revenue donations started out pretty slow. First month, I think somebody wrote a check for $50. They've gone up each month after that, continue to see them go up. We're doing really strong in material donations. We have not spent one penny on animal food or litter since I started. We post a need on the Facebook page, and usually within an hour or 2 hours, people show up at the door with stuff. So that's helping out a lot. So we're really making a concerted effort at repairing the reputation of the organization. And these two ladies behind me are really putting in a strong effort day in to make that happen. I feel like we're moving in a really good direction.
Questions for Animal Services?
I have a question. What does it take for someone to donate or to adopt a dog or an animal?
Need to be current on rabies vaccinations on any animals that you already own, and hopefully not had any trouble with ordinance violations in the past. But we're primarily concerned with making sure that people are responsible with the animals that they already own. So that's one of the big things that we check up on.
Thank you.
Sure.
Further questions from the boardroom for Animal Services? Any questions from board members on the phone for Animal Services? Rick, I'd just like to say congratulations to you and your staff on continuing to work and improve that department and get it up to where it's a top-notch facility in not just Boone County, but in the region overall. I'm confident you guys will be able to do that. And thanks for all your hard work and everything you guys do.
Appreciate that, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you.
Ladies, unless you'd like to say something. He doesn't have to steal all the thunder.
Oh, no, he does. He does. It's been a long time for this. Like, prep work.
All right, Rick, thank you.
I have a lot of help from them every single day. It would be impossible to do this without them.
Perfect, absolutely. Thank you very much for all your hard work.
You guys all have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you. You too.
Next up, there's a few written reports in there from other departments that if you have questions on, you can bring up now if you'd like, if you've had any questions on any of those, or I would recommend you address those directly with those departments. Feel free to contact them if you have questions on anything. And go from there.
Amanda's on the line. She's having issues.
Okay.
Ask her to see if she can try talking.
Sure. Amanda, are you there now?
Yeah, she's there. She says
It sounds like you're still on mute, Amanda. If you have a hammer, just beat your computer repeatedly with it. I think that'll solve it. one way or another, that would solve it.
We're gonna get a bucket, we're gonna water for you.
I don't know, somebody put a quarter in me before I came, I guess.
It's the bell.
All right, super. Amanda, if you, at any time, if you can get it to work, just jump in. Wouldn't be the first time somebody interrupted the meeting. Next up, new business. I'd accept a motion to approve the claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles. I don't think we need to worry about Denny Ellingson.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And Bill Robertson abstains from voting on all claims presented by B. Robertson Lock Service. Motion by Ms. Geeske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion? Any discussion from members on the phone? Hearing none, give me just a moment. Sherry, go ahead, please.
This isn't a question, it's actually a comment. In the last, I don't remember how many months ago, we changed this so that we're approving claims at both the admin committee meeting as well as finance. Historically, we only did it at finance, and this way, doing it doing it twice, we're much better at getting our bills paid on time and all that sort of stuff. So you'll see this multiple times at both of our sessions.
Is there any other comments from board members on the phone? Any more in here? All right, super. Roll call. Sorry, I'm just making my notes so I can keep record of who voted what. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Geeske.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Schubacher.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Martell.
Yes.
Rod Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up, we have a lot of record discussion.
Yes, and I believe so our planning director should be on the phone, Izzy, and she'll explain a little bit about this. We'll actually be moving it to next month, but she can explain a little bit about it.
Izzy, you there? Are you there, Izzy? Should yell at that a little more.
Well, that is perfectly fine. So the lot of record discussion, what we decided, because we have new board members and what we want to do is wait about a month to be able to gather some material to re-educate the new board members as well as the other.
I am.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Perfect.
Is that Izzy?
Sorry. Yes, I couldn't get on mute, but then I remembered it's *6, so I got it.
There we go. Perfect. Okay. Go right ahead, Izzy.
Okay. So with lot of record, we've had various discussions on this. And so what I wanted to do was just remind you that this will be a standing item for a while we continue to discuss this. And next month, what I'm planning on doing is coming with kind of an overview of everything, as well as the information that was given to us by Attorney John Mayville, and then continue our discussion from there, as well as the direction that was given at the last meeting to look at the comprehensive plan and tie it into the lot of record situation. So that's kind of where we're at. I just wanted to let everyone know and the new board members that this is going to be a standing item, and we're going to have an overview of everything next month.
Any questions? Perfect. Thank you, Izzy. Next up, impact fees discussion. I think it's the same thing we're moving.
Yeah, that's the same thing. I do just want to point out, since we've had the last discussion, we did include, so the School District 100 and the Conservation District did send in some written comment. So we attached those, so please review those, and they will be invited to the next discussions, and we can engage them in that conversation again. So, but we just want to point out that they did include some written documentation there. So.
Any questions? Perfect. Any questions from board members on the phone? Next up, I'd accept a motion to approve participation in the SEDS agreement, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Agreement, 21-01.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Geeske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion. Ms. Geeske.
I guess, first of all, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I read all 69 pages. I skimmed all 69 pages. But I did appreciate your comments, Kevin, very nice comments in there. And I remember when this was done 4 years ago, something like that. And a lot of us, participated in it. So I think there's, its intent is great. We could nitpick forever, but I think the intent is great.
Okay, any further discussion? Mr. Carlisle.
I'm afraid I did read all those pages, and I came up with a summary sheet, and I'll send that to Kevin, and he can send it up to everybody else. And it basically brings everything down to, it's about 4 sheets, and it's pretty easy read after that, and gives you the what for is. It's just about what the things were before, smaller changes, and then Kevin's addressed a few positive things that need to be reviewed, and it's pretty simple.
Ms. Geeske.
I did have a question. Did I miss it? Because I didn't, when I looked on the committee, I didn't see any representation from Fiat Chrysler. I didn't see anyone listed from Fiat Chrysler.
And I was looking at Carl, because
I don't
remember, yeah.
I just,
That's interesting,
for an obvious reasons, I was certain there would be somebody on there, but I didn't see it. And I maybe overlooked it, on the charter members or whatever the committee was called. Anyhow, just a comment.
Yeah, okay, yeah, we can look into that.
It's not, well, I think it is kind of important, but.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they're kind of a player here.
Really? Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Any questions, comments from board members on the phone? Hearing none, we'll do roll call. This is to approve that resolution for the SEDS. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Geeske.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Schabacher.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ray Larson. No, I'm sorry, Ray Larson. Ryan Curry.
Yes.
I can't even read my own writing, that's pretty bad. Phil Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartella.
Yes.
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next up, I would accept a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement for geographic informational system services between Boone County and the city of Belvedere. Motion by Ms. Geeske. Second by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion. Any questions or comments from board members on the phone? Hearing none, roll call. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Geeske.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Schabacher.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartella.
Yes.
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next up, I accept a motion to approve the Rockford Area Realtors Contract Renewal, Tax Appraisal and Mapping Data.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Ms. Geeske. Discussion. Ms. Geeske.
Well, this is kind of a specific comment really, but also I'd like it to be considered a general comment. I can't tell you how much I appreciate having a board memo from the administrative staff explaining it. It not only does it help to understand what's going on, it codifies it into less than 8,000 words, and plus it's listed for perpetuity. You know, it's all right there. This one is particularly nice. I think this is a great idea. This wasn't even uncovered until about, what, a year and a half ago. I think Dan maybe uncovered this issue. But anyhow, neither here nor there. I really appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments from board members in the boardroom? How about board members on the phone? Seeing none, roll call. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Peasky,
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar,
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Steve Schabacher,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Bill Robertson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartel,
Yes,
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Next up, I would accept a motion to approve the 2020 to 2021 CIRMA and excess liability insurance approval.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Carlisle, seconded by Mr. Robertson. Discussion. Any questions or comments from board members on the phone? Ms. Kieske,
I thought we did this already.
I don't remember approving this CIRMA.
That we didn't approve it? I thought we did.
Dan,
CIRMA, being a risk pool, it's very similar to the IPBC in that we're members of the pool, we're founding members of that pool, and so there's really not an annual renewal that we need to vote on each year. On the excess liability, which is the second policy that's listed on that memo, that's the one that the county goes and buys above and beyond the CIRMA package for extra protection from liabilities. And so that is one that we go out to every year and we enter into an agreement with a vendor. The only comment I would have, both of them, so the CIRMA renewal, really more for informational purposes, but that renewal was 12% this year. On the liability, 35% increase, something that we heard, and you've probably heard yourself, but really that property insurance market is really hardening. There have been huge catastrophes. COVID-19 has been really traumatic in that industry. And so and the one specific line of coverage that's really going to be difficult, I think, moving forward is that excess liability. A lot of those carriers are unfortunately drying up. And so that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, again, the CIRMA renewal, it's already, the coverage started on 12/1. We've got vehicle cards out there, but an approval, really the excess liability is what needs the approval.
Okay, thank you.
any further discussions or comments? Seeing none, roll call. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Peasky,
Reluctantly, yes.
Jonathan Van Laar,
Yes.
he wants back in again.
Do we have a motion on this in a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you. Aye.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson,
Aye.
Steve Schabacher,
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle,
Yes.
Ryan Curry,
Yes.
Bill Robertson,
Yes.
Sherry Bartel,
Yes,
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Next, I would ask for approval on authorization for county administrator to sign memorandum of understanding for electronics recycling.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Kieske, seconded by Mr. Carlisle. Discussion. Ms. Kieske.
When is it we've had two sets on the same night? We have the sets that we just approved and we have covered electronic devices, another set of sets. I mean, what's the irony there? I love it.
Any other discussion? Roll call. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Peasky.
Yes.
Jonathan Van Laar.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
Aye.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Schabacher.
Yes.
Jeff Carlisle.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartel.
yes,
Rodney Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries. Do we have any other policy update, personnel policy updates on COVID-19?
No, not tonight.
We have one raffle, so we don't need a motion to approve the raffle. We do that at the county board, don't we?
I believe so, I believe,
Do we do motion here for raffles? That's just the county board, yeah.
That's what the
Yeah, so we
board-
just need somebody to sign it or something.
yeah, we just need to sign it, and it's,
I have the board section right now.
I'm sorry,
Okay, sorry.
we're in new business on 9.1.
Yeah, that's below that threshold where they have to appear, so.
Okay.
We're all set.
Okay. Intergovernmental reports, public safety building, 911. Sheriff, are you on the line? Was it star 6 he would have to hit?
Yeah, but he's, okay, he's out.
Not on? Okay. He's sitting back, relaxing. Anything on landfill?
There's nothing new with the landfill at this moment.
You know, I had a question actually, regarding landfill. And Izzy, I don't know if you're still online, you might be able to answer this question if you are. Where are we at with the solar project that we had approved for the landfill? Is that up for renewal or extension? Is that, did we extend them?
Didn't we extend that one?
Yes, by a year. Yes, so the current, we're in an option lease right now, and that expires in April. I've contacted the company business that's responsible for that, and they were gonna do some internal checking they wanna try to renegotiate that, obviously, to extend that, but there have been other pursuits that have come to my attention from R1 actually.
Right.
Regarding the same thing. So it will come to the county board to decide kind of who to go with, because R1 has a strategy, and I've sent them some information to see if we would qualify for what they want to do. And then the company that we're under the option lease right now, they have some interest in extending that option lease agreement. So that'll come hopefully within the next month or two, once I hear back from both entities, so.
I'd just like to see something happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so, okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other informational items or other business, correspondence, UCCI?
No, we can try to see if Amanda has been able to get back in.
Sure. Amanda, are you on the line here? Are you able to talk to us yet? Dan's shaking his head no. You've got her permanently blocked out, is that what you said to him? We're this close to the end and you're like, no.
Oh, Lord.
I'm sorry, he didn't really say that if you're listening. No need for executive session. That means there's only need for one more motion. Ms. Kieske? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second by Mr. Carlisle. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Have a good evening, everyone. We'll
Thanks
see you
very
next
much.
week.
Can I talk to you for one?